Why America's economy is soaring ahead of its rivals. The country's outperformance is rooted in long-term productivity growth that is the envy of the developed world. Could Trump's policies endanger its lead? A month after dropping out of a Stanford University PhD program in the spring of last year, Demi Guo and her friend Chenling Meng had raised $5 million for their startup. The app they created, PicaArt, uses AI to produce wild video effects and threatens to make at least one aspect of traditional video and film production a thing of the past. Within a few months, it had more than 1 million users, while the two founders, both aged 26, raised $135 million in just over a year. Their story would be exceptional anywhere outside Silicon Valley, and it's rare even there. But California's famed network of mentors, innovators, and investors helped make it possible, they explain. With investors, there was mutual enthusiasm from the start, Guo says, explaining that they brainstorm ideas with us, help with recruiting, and more. If I run into a problem, I can just text them and they are immediately helpful. For many economists, Guo and Meng's success helps explain something else. Why the US is growing so much faster than any other advanced economy? Its GDP expanded by 11.4% since the end of 2019, and in its latest forecast, the IMF predicted US growth at 2.8% this year. While last month's US election was fought against a backdrop of the cost of living crisis, the country's economic performance in recent years has been the envy of the developed world. The US may have been less affected by the war in Ukraine than Europe, owing to its abundant domestic energy supply, and rebounded more quickly than some G7 nations from the COVID. But its growth record is rooted in faster productivity growth, a more enduring driver of economic performance. This is the picture of tech company based in the US dominate global R&D spending. Top 2,500 companies by R&D spending by country and sector. Okay, so like this one is US. How about this one? Okay, this is Germany. So yeah. US labor productivity has grown by 30% since the 2008-2009 financial crisis, more than 3 times the pace in the Eurozone and the UK. That productivity gap, visible for a decade, is reshaping the hierarchy of the global economy. Economic growth in the Eurozone has been a third of the US since the pandemic, and output is set to expand by just 0.8% this year, according to the IMF. Similarly, the economies of Japan and the UK have grown only by 3% over the past 5 years. In fact, in productivity growth, the US is rapidly outstripping almost all advanced economies, many of which are caught in the spiral of low growth, weakening living standards, strained public finance, and impaired geopolitical influence. In the UK, the new Labour government has promised a decade of renewal to solve what economists have called the productivity puzzle, Addressing low productivity growth is the IMF key recommendation for Japan, while a landmark report published in September by Mario Draghi, a former president of the European Central Bank, described weak competitiveness as an existential challenge for the EU. Donald Trump will inherit a booming US economy when he enters the White House in January. Some economists question whether the policies he has indicated he will pursue, tariff on US import, mass deportation of immigrants, and big tax cut for the wealthy, might undermine the long-term advantages the US currently boasts and risk a return to resurgent inflation and keep interest rate elevated. Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell, whom Trump attacked in his first term as president, has acknowledged the uncertainty around the country's productivity outlook. The law on productivity readings, he told reporters in November, is whenever you see high readings, you should assume they are going to revert pretty quickly to the longer term trend. But many expect the US to retain pole position and say other countries stand little chance of catching up. Trump's economic policy will tarnish US technology exceptionalism, say Mark Sandy, chief economist of Moody's Analytics. But he will not undermine it. Increase in productivity, a measure of how efficiently resources are used in the economy, allow workers to earn higher wages, expand companies' profitability, and augment tax revenues, ultimately boosting living standards. It is an indicator where the US has enjoyed remarkable success. In the 3 months to September 2024, according to official statistics, US output per hour work was up by 8.9% from its pre-pandemic level at the end of 2019, having expanded at annual rates between 2% and 2.8% over more than a year. This is the chart of US labor productivity growth that has outpaced the rate of the G7. So the G7 is a chart, area chart, like a gray one, and the US is blue one, and it's clearly outpaced since 2008-2009. So the global financial crisis is the one of the reasons. The contrast with its northerly neighbor is harsh. Canada's labor productivity was contracted for 14 of the last 16 quarters and was 1.2% below its pre-pandemic level at the end of the second quarter of 2024. Caroline Roger warned in March that weak productivity was an economic emergency, adding that over the past 4 decades we have actually slipped significantly compared with some other countries. Canada is not alone. Data from the Conference Board shows that in the past few years, labor productivity has dropped relative to that of the US in most advanced economies. In the UK, the productivity malaise stretched back to the global financial crisis, says Bart van Ark, blaming it on chronically slow public and private investment and the lack of diffusion of the latest technologies and innovation across the economy. The Eurozone experienced a similar slowdown. Labor productivity grew by 5.3% in the 5 years to 2007, but that dropped to 2.6% in the 5 years to 2019 and just 0.8% in the most recent 5 years. The US impressive strength in the tech is the difference. Draghi warned If we exclude the tech sector, EU productivity growth over the past 20 years would be broadly at par with the US. FT analysis of the EU Industrial R&D Investment Scoreboard, which tracks global top investors, suggests that pattern could be consistent across many other advanced economies. Most countries perform poorly when it comes to research and development spending. And there's also huge underrepresentation in fast-growing sectors. Globally, the top R&D spenders are increasingly concentrated in software and computer services, a sector that has overtaken pharma, tech hardware, and automobile manufacturing to become the leading destination for investment. It is dominated by US companies, often very large ones. This is the picture of labor productivity relative to the US has declined in most advanced economies. Labor productivity per hour worked in 2022 constant dollar at purchasing power parity US equal 100. We'll see the France drop, Germany drop, Canada always below US, Italy drop, UK always below US, and Japan far below the US. Wow. China is the only large economy making significant strides in tech R&D spending. Xi Jinping government recently announced plan to make the country the primary center for AI innovation by 2030, according to OECD data. The amount of venture capital invested in AI in China is now the second highest globally after the US. Other advanced economies show little sign of this dynamism. According to data by Breakin, the US accounts for 83% of the amount of VC funding in G7 economies over the past decade. The country also attracted 14.6% of the world's overall greenfield foreign direct investment in the first 10 months of 2024, according to FDI market data, a record high. Germany, by contrast, registered its lower share of global FDI in 18 years. The era of unassailable American productivity growth is relatively new. In the years after the Second World War, the US economy experienced high growth, but productivity in most European economies and Japan caught up. In the 3 decades to 1980, in countries that are now in the Eurozone, labor productivity quadrupled while during that decade, Japan dominated consumer electronic and vehicle production, leading to angst in the US that it would become the world's biggest economy. According to Andrea Colli, the improvement was largely down to reconstruction efforts partly funded by the US via the Marshall Plan, which put over $30 billion into the continent's better economies. But he also points out that productivity growth was stronger in Europe and Japan than in the US for more than 2 decades, thanks to technological advancement and management improvement. By the 1990s, progress had stalled. As the information and communication revolution gathered pace, US productivity began to outpace that of other advanced economies where such sectors were less represented. That gap widened after the financial crisis, and many experts, including the Bank for International Settlement, have pointed to lagging investment in other advanced economies. The trend also reflects a different concept of competitiveness, argues Sammy Carr. Americans are striving for innovation productivity, which is investment-led, while the rest of the world seems to be in another economic logic. He says they are very much more focused on cost competitiveness. It is animated how surging R&D investment powered the US tech sector ahead of car manufacturers, net sales, and what is this? The one below one is R&D investment. So, of top 100 global companies by R&D investment, Circle size did not market cap. Hover on Circles for detail. Okay, oh wow, it's going to LinkedIn. Why? How come? Oh, okay, so you have to go link to the LinkedIn to run this chart. The US display more tolerance of risk at both an investor and government level. Wait, I have to see from other countries. Okay, this. Yeah. I think what we have here is like PetroChina has a big net sales but very little R&D investment because it's what it is. Meanwhile, like Volkswagen or Samsung Electronic, Microsoft is kinda different. They have really big R&D investment compared to their net sales. Google, Alphabet, Intel. Wow, nice. The US displays a more tolerance of risk at both an investor and government level. US investors take greater risks across everything in tech than any other country, said Michael Burr. Successful investment create additional venture fund, which in turn spawn new entrepreneurs and businesses, something Burr described as a flywheel effect. Many of the Europe entrepreneurs are not so fortunate. Justus Lawton founded Ford Forecast, which employs AI to help food business create more accurate sales forecasts, but says he would not recommend starting a business in his native Germany. I think the venture capitalists in Germany are very risk-averse. Nicole Mazzocchi secured early financing from an Italian bank. He is a firm who has higher power to help companies analyze the skill of job applicant. But he said this experience was extremely difficult, adding that investors are very scared to be the first mover. Is the biggest challenge in the early stage. Philip Sewell, a UK-based firm that has developed a platform to help companies predict demand for things such as inventory and labor, says he found himself battling with the UK tax authorities over tax reliefs on R&D. The government talked about supporting startup and scale up, but I found that it's very difficult. So I'll say government agencies are still very risk averse, with very much a adopting Thomas type of attitude. In the EU, complex regulation, a lack of top-ranking academic institutions, and smaller and more fragmented markets are among other barriers to innovation highlighted by the Draghi report. These findings are in line with the leading European tech survey published by Atomico in November. Even if European firms attempt to expand in the US-denominated tech and social media market, there is no room for a British or French company to come in and try to compete, says Robert Gordon. They are not just too small, but they are too late. The challenge for other advanced economies is not just replicating American dynamism. It is to do so while retaining their cherished social safeguards. For all its economic power, the US has the largest income inequality in the G7, coupled with the lowest life expectancy and the highest housing costs, according to OECD. Market competition is limited and millions of workers endure unstable employment conditions. This chart is a growing competition from China squeeze out the non-US G7. This is the composition of top 2,500 global companies by R&D spend, number of companies. However, for details, the blue one is the US, the red one is China, which increased exponentially, and while the other blue is the G7 x US. The gray one is other. So it looks like China really going strong with this R&D spending. Europe social safety net needs to be paid for, one Christine Lagarde in November. Boosting competitiveness is necessary for long-term prosperity, she argued. Failure to do so could jeopardize our ability to generate the wealth needed to sustain our economic and social model. There are countless initiatives underway, ranging from Canada's Strategic Innovation Fund and the UK's Venture Capital SIM and Smart Grants Program to the EU European Tech Champion Initiative and Horizon Europe, a funding program for research and innovation with a budget of nearly 100 billion euro. Many are aimed at tackling skill shortage and encouraging more people to study science, technology, and engineering and math. Since 2017, Canada's Global Skills Strategy Program has facilitated work permits for people deemed high skill. The EU has proposed a talent pool, an online platform connecting job seekers from elsewhere with job vacancy in the bloc. Yet these efforts are insufficient. The Draghi report estimated that 800 billion euro of investment annually, around 4.7% of EU GDP, is needed to prevent the bloc from falling further behind the US and China. He also advocated integrating capital market, boosting investment in university and reducing regulation. The Bank of Canada has also urged the country's government to close the investment gap with the US and create incentives to allow companies in high-value industries to grow and thrive. Japan has pledged $30 billion of government support for domestic chip production and investment in generative AI, while the UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves has committed to an additional 100 billion of capital spending over the next 5 years to boost productivity growth. But Nathan Sheth, chief economist at Citigroup, says that despite these efforts and China's push to become an AI superpower, the US is the place where AI is happening and will continue to be the place where AI happens. Okay, this one is a US business investment growth has outpaced other G7 countries. The prospect of second Trump administration has made many economists nervous. Mahmoud Pradhan, head of the global macro at Amundi Investment Institute, says that both tariff and deportation of migrants are negative for investment. We are going to have an increasing share of GDP devoted to paying interest on the federal debt, says Gordon. It's another drain away from potential funds available for investment. Heightened pressure on prices could also be detrimental to investment. But for many experts, America's position is secure. The US has a whole ecosystem to promote innovation and its impact on the economy via productivity gains. There's a lot of ground to cover for the rest of the world. If anything, says Sandy, Europe will struggle with the heightened economic and geopolitical uncertainties created by Trump policy and will need to invest more in defense, limiting the resources it has available. Economists polled by Consensus Economics expect growth of 1.9% next year in the US, the fastest of any G7 economy. Looking 10 years ahead, they still forecast the fastest growth. It's like watching a 100-meter final where someone wins by a very wide margin, says Simon Gondrel. We are left wondering, is it because those 9 were all much weaker, or is it because that competitor ahead of the pack found a secret formula?